Yes, I would consider the judgment a victory for women, for children, and other persons that have been involved in domestic violence. I listened to your narrative just before you invited me in, and I just want to say that the greatest thing we have in reducing domestic violence is the culture of silence, which pervades in many homes. And this culture of silence arises from our culture, religion, and and the gender roles we create in our homes from the beginning. This is what has brought about people not being able to speak when they are being violated upon. They take it as a natural thing, and most times it escalates and it leads to death or permanent incapacitation or trauma, which extends to the end of the person's life. Domestic violence is very prevalent, and it is something that must be checked. You ask the question, where should a person go to if the person is violated against?
Yeah.
The police is there. I know many listeners will scream, what will the police do? When we go there, they tell us it is a family affair. But they're there. And there are some police stations that will definitely listen to you. And then there are so many non-governmental organizations that are involved in the fight for zero tolerance to domestic violence. The International Federation of Women Lawyers is their feeder. You also have the Medical Women Association of Nigeria, even the Nigerian Bar Association, the Nigerian Medical Association, NAWOJ, and several non-governmental organizations and against domestic violence. Now, let me make it clear. We also have some developments in our law, like the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Law, the VAP law. Now, if you notice, this law says person, because these days we have cases of even men, you understand, being violated against. So when you talk about domestic violence, don't think of only women. Also think of men that, have suffered the same fate. And so what I'm saying in essence is that there are a network of organizations that work together to ensure the safety of persons violated against. The medical people are there to check you and prepare reports, especially when the violation is physical. Sometimes it can be emotional, sometimes it can be economic. It depends on the way the violator has chosen to display his violence. And so when it's economic, what do you have? You have the person falling under the yoke of that violation, especially when the person does not have the ability to fend for themselves. So they keep living under that violation. Now, it's emotional when you keep on abusing the person and you threaten the person all the time. The person is never able to take any decision on their own. And of course, that also causes a lot of problems for the human involved. Then, of course, the physical one. That brings about sometimes permanent incapacitation, and several things come out of it. Now, what I'm saying in essence is this. You go to the police, you get support from a non-governmental organization, of course, which would involve maybe FIDA, the Medical Women Association of Nigeria. The question is, after all this wrong, where does the person end up? When I was Commissioner for Social Welfare and Rehabilitation, a safe home was built under His Excellency Nyesome's one-week. A safe home that was to care for persons in this kind of situation. The safe home was meant for children in need of protective custody, and also women and even men that had to leave their violent environment to stay elsewhere or to stay in a safe place. The way the place was built, it was built to accommodate children, meaning boys and girls, and then there were some rooms that were, outside the main building that was designated for women and even men. These rooms had attached to them even kitchenettes so that you can stay there for a while, pending when you have another safe place to go to. So that is what I know is on ground now. But the issue is this: when there is violence in the home, whether emotional, physical, or whatever, the person being violated against should have the courage to speak up. Even if you don't have economic empowerment, you do not have to take that violence, because its end might not be okay. Like the case in instance, I commend most sincerely the Abuja High Court for its judgment, because, it shows, first of all, it to be a deterrent to persons who violate others. It starts small. You start by abusing, then you stop giving money, you stop the woman from working, and then the next thing, she's gone.
Okay. Now, Mrs. Aguma,
you just have to stop.
Yeah, you mentioned a couple of establishments or organizations that a person can run to. Some are in the NGO space and all of that. But don't you think that having an array of options, while that is good, might also lead to confusion? We've had people approach us here in the studio, with these kinds of complaints, and usually we direct them towards FIDA, Doctors Without Borders. There's a third one, that's the most popular, because first we need medical assessments and all of that. So shouldn't we have a centralized organization? While there are many that might provide that kind of care and support, maybe a helpline, a government office, like you were, Commissioner for Social Welfare. One place that we can say, go here first for everyone who has that complaint.
I can tell you that the Rivers State Ministry of Social Welfare and Rehabilitation networked and coordinated all these organizations at some point.
Okay.
So that when the report is made, calls are made through. You need each of them. Okay, you want medical assessment of your situation, even if it's just your mental health situation. I can tell you about a young girl who was pregnant by her father. She carried this pregnancy to a particular state and decided, Doctors Without Borders was involved in this one, and decided she was not going to have her father's child. And you know what that means. And said if we let her have her father's child, she was going to kill herself. Of course, the father was facing trial for defiling his daughter. And then, what did we have to do? We got in the medical people, we spoke with them, we spoke with Doctors Without Borders, the police. And at the end of the day, social welfare had to go to court to apply that she has an abortion because of external circumstances. Because her psyche was down, her emotions were all over the place. And this girl said, look, I will kill myself. And she meant it because she had attempted it. So at the end of the day, a network of persons came together and took, saw her through this process. And, she got back her strength afterwards and is living in that environment now. Now, that's one aspect of it. Each of these organizations play a role. If you come to FIDA, what are we going to give to you? Legal support. Okay? If you go to Medical Women Association of Nigeria or Medical Association of Nigeria, what are they going to give you? Health support. They will ensure you run through all the tests. They are the ones to tell us what exactly has gone wrong with you medically. They are the ones to even bring the psychologists who will not check your mental state. Nigeria is one country where somebody goes through a trauma and we don't check the person's mental state. And the person grows with it and later becomes a very bitter person. And you don't know why some people behave the way they do. But that's because when they had a trauma, they were not properly checked. Then, of course, the police will be there. Because at the end of the day, we need the police support to prosecute if it is a case that should be done in the magistrate court, or even if it's to be done by the River State Ministry of Justice. You see all the stakeholders. It is going to go to the DPP's office. We also need to get them involved. So what I'm saying is that there are a long list of stakeholders, and social welfare has worked, and I believe are still coordinating.
Okay.
We reach out to these stakeholders. Don't get it twisted. The problem is people not being able to speak because they don't want to be stigmatized. They don't want to be labeled. In fact, there are women that have seen their daughters pregnanted by their husband and father of the child. The women hide it. They stop the child from even speaking. Now, the safe home I spoke to you about has 2 courts cited therein inside the safe home, a high court and a magistrate court. And the reason for that is so that when you have issues like that and you want to avoid publicity, you understand, the courts will speak in that premises and hear the case.
Okay.
It also has a little medical bay where at least first-hand checkup can be done before the person is moved to another, moved to a bigger hospital.
Yeah.
And then you also have offices for all these non-governmental organizations to sit in and attend to persons that have complained of violence.
All right, Mrs. Aguma, we are almost out of time, and I understand that you also have to get back. While you were commissioner, the safe homes were working. So very quickly, because we have less than a minute, do you know what the state of the safe homes are now? Are they still functional? And conclusively, what can people do moving forward in cases where they are violated?
I'll tell you that they are still functional because they are run by civil servants. You understand?
Okay.
What the political appointee does is to give it steam. Okay? Give it steam, ensure that people do their work. You have all the necessary officers, they're all civil servants. Social workers are civil servants. Mind you, it's in the social welfare that you have officers that are called aftercare officers. And what is their job? In matters like this, you understand? They have to follow up even after the court cases and so on and so forth. You have counselors in the social welfare ministry who have to counsel people. You have different child development officers. You understand? You have family welfare officers who also wade into issues in the homes, in the families. So all these things are there. It is for people to use what is available, to ensure that they get violators dealt with.
All right. Conclusively, if someone who's currently being violated, if someone who's currently being violated is listening to you now, what words would you want to say to them as we wrap up?
I would tell the person to go to the social welfare ministry or to the International Federation of Women Lawyers. And you'd ask me, why do I say that? I have worked in social welfare and I see how they operate. They have hotlines, they have hot numbers. I don't have them offhand, and unfortunately, I am not available. But they have hot numbers, they have hotlines that you can call, and they will swing into action.
Okay.
You go to FIDA, the same thing, they will swing into action. And they will network with all these organizations. And I can tell you, by the time they assess your case, they will tell you whether you should go back to the environment you are coming from or whether you should go to the safe home. You understand?
Okay.
We have a lot of children under protective custody. During my time, I didn't really encounter adults, maybe once or twice. But a lot of children are there, staying under protective custody. In fact, the court say, look, This child can't go back home because of social welfare ministry. And then they are safe, pending the termination of their trial. And I'll ask adults to also know that economic empowerment is not more important than their mental health or their well-being.
All right.
You don't stay in a home where you are abused and beaten because of economic empowerment. Do not also demean yourself to stay in a home where you are violated because you want to answer Mrs. Somebody. You know, these are the traditions and culture around us. And mothers should please stop telling their daughters, endure. I endure this. So why can't you enjoy it?
Okay.
You get what I'm saying?
Yes,
so,
I do.
You know, we need reorientation. That's what we need.
All right.
When it comes to violence against persons.
Thank you very much for your time. We appreciate it. And I'm hoping that if we have to talk again, it's not because there are problems, but hopefully to celebrate the solutions. Thank you very much. Have yourself a wonderful day.
Thanks a lot. Okay, man. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll take that break, and coming up next, you and I will talk. Stay with us. It's left on the clock. Let's see what we can do with the time. Peter Nwachukwu, husband of late gospel singer Osinachi Nwachukwu, has been sentenced to death by hanging by a federal high court in Abuja. The court found him guilty of culpable homicide, determining that his actions led to his wife's death on April the 8th, 2022. And the prosecution presented 17 witnesses, including the couple's children, during the trial. I can imagine, I can't pretend to know how it feels. What it's like for the kids to be called to the trial of their father for killing their mom. You don't wish that on your worst enemy. Through no fault of yours, you're not a stubborn child. It's not like you deserved it. You wake up and find yourself in court and you're a witness speaking against your own father because he was accused of killing your mom. My goodness. But the court has sentenced the man to death. It took 3 years. It's a long road to justice, 2022 to 2025. It's quite some time. But I have to say, in the context of what we see, we've had court cases last for decades, 10, 15, 20. So these 3 years, right? I mean, it's child's play compared to what we see. But my question is, I had conversations with Inime Aguma, the former Commissioner for Social Welfare, before the break. My question is, should a death penalty be a standard punishment in domestic violence cases that result in death? This person has been violating this person for quite some time and it leads to the death of someone. Should a death penalty be standard punishment? And if someone you know is in an abusive relationship, they tell you, how would you help them? 0817-923-0002, 0817-923-0003. WhatsApp is 080-903-06-416. If and when you call, please turn off your radio. It's sad for too many reasons. And you think about it, and empathy is putting yourself in another person's shoe for the purpose of understanding. It's difficult to empathize, right? To really get the feel. Because for a lot of cases, domestic violence, and I'm not saying gender-based, right? Domestic violence, because it happens both ways, even though for men it's heavily underreported. It usually is at the hands of someone you love. Years ago, you very likely walked down some aisle, looked in each other's eyes, said some vows, made promises in the presence of witnesses, and swore that you would love, have and hold, protect and serve this person. And then, you're the primary source of their pain. How do you beat your partner? Like, how does that happen? Where you get so angry and then you start punching and kicking. And we've heard of cases where people use weapons, you pull a knife. How does that happen? To someone who... I don't want to make this about a particular gender, but do you know what it means to marry in Nigeria? You go and meet family, they give you a list. Like, at any point in that process, you could have said, I'm not doing again. You pay bride price if you're the man. You fulfill what is on the list. You go with your kinsmen over to the person's village. They negotiate. Oh no, the umonna, this one, that one. You do all of that. And in Nigeria, we like to overdo. So we have like 3 ceremonies. There's court wedding, white wedding, and traditional wedding. You spend all of these monies through 3 different ceremonies just to tell the world, I want to marry this person. Then you go and kill the person. JJ calls from Port Harcourt town. Hello? Oh my, I've lost that call. Like, how does it work? If common sense does not kick in, if conscience does not kick in, isn't there a part of you that say, wait, I spent money to get here? Right? It cost me a lot. This is what, 2025. Last year, my friend got married. And I still remember the conversations we had because we were in what Nigeria has made the committee of friends. I was one of his groomsmen. The picture is plastered in as many places. I shared it on social media. And in April, my wife and I traveled for that wedding because he is a friend of both of us. He was friends with me while I was single and while I was still dating my wife. So he's a common friend. We went all the way. So it's not just the couple spending money. Even those connected to them. Me, I took leave from work. Then I wake up tomorrow and they say, he have break the woman's head. Do you know how much I spent to come for that wedding? Braid, good afternoon or evening. Good evening.
Good evening. Yes, bringing the 2 children to testify against him. For me, it makes no sense.
How so?
Yeah, now they have sentenced the father to death. Didn't they, with trauma, the children will go through? Their mother is late. Their father is being sentenced because they were also testify against their father. I don't know whether they put all these things into cognizance.
Okay, so let me respond to you, even though I'm not the court. One of the many charges that the man was facing was spousal battery and cruelty to children. So even the children were victims of the man's cruelty as well. And you don't think testifying in court is the least they could do?
Yes. I don't see it in that perspective.
Okay.
Yes, because I feel that, yes, the father must have done one thing or the other to them. And now, whatever he does to their mother, that has brought death to their mother.
Okay.
That is a